The Philadelphia Eagles have officially turned the page on their offensive staff, and the decision they just made says a lot about how this organization views its future. On that side of the ball, the team has hired Sean Mannion as the new offensive coordinator, bringing him over from Green Bay, where he had been working closely with quarterbacks and quietly building a reputation as one of the most intriguing young minds in the league. This move did not happen overnight, and it was clearly the result of a deliberate process in which the Eagles evaluated not just experience but vision, adaptability, and long-term potential. What immediately stands out about this hire is the message it sends about the direction of the offense. The Eagles are not looking to stay static or cling to ideas that have already shown their limits. Instead, they are betting on growth and evolution. The head coach made it clear throughout the search that he wanted to keep an open mind, and that openness is reflected in the final decision. This is an organization that understands the league changes fast, and offenses that fail to adapt get left behind. Bringing in a coordinator with fresh perspectives and modern influences shows a willingness to challenge what has been done before. Sean Mannion arrives in Philadelphia with a background that is unconventional but fascinating. He spent more than a decade in the National Football League as a quarterback, learning from some of the sharpest offensive thinkers in the game. Those years were not just about holding a clipboard or taking snaps in practice. They were about absorbing systems, terminology, rhythm, and the subtle details that separate functional offenses from elite ones. That kind of lived experience inside quarterback rooms across multiple organizations shapes how a coach sees the game, especially when it comes to structure, sequencing, and player confidence. After transitioning into coaching, Magnon's rise was quick. In Green Bay, he worked as an offensive assistant before earning a promotion to quarterbacks coach. And in that role, he played a part in the development of Jordan Love. Love's growth into a more efficient and confident passer did not happen by accident. It came from consistent coaching, clear communication, and a system that played to his strengths. The same can be said for Malik Willis, who looked far more composed and prepared when given opportunities than many expected. That reflects a coaching environment that prioritizes readiness and clarity, two things the Eagles' offense has lacked at times. One of the most intriguing aspects of this hire is how it fits into the larger philosophy of the Eagles organization. This is a franchise that has repeatedly shown a willingness to take calculated risks on coaches who may not check every traditional box but demonstrate high-level football intelligence. Time and again, those decisions have paid off. The front office and ownership group value process, preparation, and projection, not just resumes. When they identify someone they believe can grow into the role, they trust their evaluation and commit fully. There is no denying that this move comes with questions. Mannion does not have a long track record as a play caller at the professional level, and stepping into a city like Philadelphia amplifies every decision. The expectations are enormous. This is a roster filled with veteran talent, players who have been to the biggest stage and won. Managing that group requires confidence, communication, and credibility. Yet, there is also an argument that a younger coordinator, closer to the modern game and recently removed from playing, can connect with players in a way that feels natural and authentic. From a schematic standpoint, the potential is what excites many observers. Mannion has been influenced by offensive systems that emphasize motion, spacing, misdirection, and layered route concepts. These are ideas that stress defenses horizontally and vertically, creating cleaner throwing lanes and easier reads for the quarterback. For an Eagles offense that has often relied on individual talent to win matchups, the idea of scheming players open rather than asking them to constantly beat tight coverage could be transformative. This also puts a spotlight on the quarterback. The Eagles need an offense that challenges him intellectually and expands what he is asked to do. At the line of scrimmage, he has already shown that he can operate at a very high level when given creative designs and clear answers. The goal now is to build an offense that blends structure with flexibility, one that allows the quarterback to play fast while still pushing him to grow. That balance is difficult, but it is essential for taking the next step. Another key element will be how this offense uses its skill position players. There is too much talent on this roster for the unit to ever feel predictable or stagnant. Wide receivers need to be moved around, placed in advantageous matchups, and featured in ways that stress coverage rules. The run game must complement the passing attack, not exist separately from it. Modern offenses thrive on marrying concepts, making every play look similar before the snap and forcing defenses to hesitate just long enough Ultimately, this hire reflects confidence in the Eagles' internal process. The organization believes it can identify and develop coaching talent just as effectively as it develops players. They trust that with the right support and structure, Sean Mannion can grow into this role and potentially become one of the league's more respected offensive minds. The risk is real, but so is the upside, and in a league driven by innovation, sometimes the biggest rewards come from trusting what a coach can become, rather than what he has already been. As this new chapter begins, the pressure surrounding the Eagles' offense is impossible to ignore, and that reality will shape every decision made moving forward. Philadelphia is not a patient market, especially when the roster is built to win right now. Expectations are not theoretical, they are immediate and loud. Sean Mannion steps into an environment where success is demanded, not hoped for, and where every offensive series will be dissected in real time. That kind of intensity can overwhelm inexperienced coaches, but it can also accelerate growth if the foundation is strong. What may work in Magnon's favor is the credibility that comes from having been in the locker room as a player for so long. Veterans respond differently to coaches who have lived the same routine, felt the same pressure, and understand the emotional swings of a season. That shared experience can help bridge the gap when adjustments need to be made, or when difficult conversations arise. Respect in the National Football League is not granted automatically, but it is often earned faster when players feel understood rather than managed. The offensive identity itself is now at a crossroads. Over the past few seasons, the Eagles have leaned heavily on physicality and execution, trusting talent to win even when designs were predictable. At times, that approach worked because the roster was simply better. At other times, it stalled because defenses caught on and dared the offense to evolve. The challenge now is to keep the physical edge while adding layers of creativity that force opponents to prepare for multiple answers on every snap. This is where Magnon's background becomes especially relevant, having been around offenses that value timing, rhythm, and spacing. He understands how small adjustments can change the entire feel of a game. A shift in formation, a subtle motion, or a different route combination can turn a contested throw into an easy completion. These details matter, especially in postseason football where margins are razor thin. The Eagles do not need a complete philosophical overhaul, but they do need refinement that reflects where the league is heading. The run game will also be a major point of emphasis when the Eagles have been at their best. The ground attack has not only produced yards, but controlled tempo and dictated defensive looks. A balanced offense forces defenses to stay honest and opens up opportunities downfield. The decline in consistency last season was noticeable, and addressing that is not just about personnel but about sequencing and commitment. A coordinator who understands how the run and pass feed each other can restore that balance. Personnel decisions loom over everything: questions along the offensive line, uncertainty around key veterans, and the long-term vision for the skill positions will all influence how the offense is constructed. A coordinator does not operate in isolation, but his input matters. The ability to tailor concepts to the strengths of the roster, rather than forcing players into rigid roles, often separates successful offenses from disappointing ones. That adaptability will be tested early and often. There is also the matter of leadership within the coaching staff. A young coordinator must command the room, not just draw plays. Meetings, practice structure, and in-game communication all fall under his influence. Mistakes will happen, but how quickly they are corrected will define the trajectory of the season. The Eagles believe they have the infrastructure to support that growth, and history suggests they are comfortable giving coaches the tools they need to succeed. Looking around the league, the trend is clear. Offenses that thrive are those willing to innovate without abandoning fundamentals. They challenge defenses with movement and misdirection while still winning at the line of scrimmage. They create confidence for quarterbacks by simplifying reads without limiting aggression. That is the blueprint the Eagles are aiming to follow, and Magnon's task is to translate theory into weekly production. Skepticism is natural, especially when a hire carries uncertainty. Fans have seen promising ideas fall flat before, and trust must be earned on the field. Still, the organization's track record suggests this decision was not made lightly. Evaluations were thorough, interviews were extensive, and the final choice reflected belief in both potential and fit. That alignment between front office and coaching staff matters more than any single resume bullet point. As the season approaches, all eyes will be on how quickly the offense finds its rhythm. Early performances will shape narratives, fair or not, and patience will be tested. But beneath the noise, the real work will be happening daily in film rooms, on practice fields, and during long conversations about how to maximize what this roster can do. The Eagles are betting that Sean Mannion can grow into the role and help usher in an offense that feels modern, adaptable, and dangerous. One that evolves week by week as opponents try to keep up, and one that ultimately reflects an organization that refuses to stand still, while the rest of the league keeps moving forward, searching for the next edge, the next adjustment, and the next answer that can turn close games into decisive wins as the season unfolds. And the true identity of this offense begins to take shape through repetition, confidence, and belief built snap by snap. That evolution will depend heavily on how quickly trust is built between the coordinator and his players. Offensive football at this level is rooted in belief as much as design. If players trust the plan, they play faster, hesitate less, and execute with conviction. That trust is earned through preparation and clarity, through game plans that make sense and adjustments that actually work. When players see their strengths emphasized and their weaknesses protected, buy-in follows naturally, and the offense begins to operate as a connected unit rather than a collection of individual talents. Another layer to watch is how the Eagles handle adversity within games. Every offense looks good when things are on schedule, but the true test comes on 3rd and long, after a turnover, or when an opponent takes away the first option. This is where creativity and adaptability show up in real time, the ability to pivot, to change tendencies, and to stay aggressive without becoming reckless will define how far this offense can go. Those moments often decide seasons, and they are where young coordinators either grow quickly or get exposed. The long-term vision also matters here. This hire is not just about the next few months, but about building something sustainable. If the Eagles can establish a system that players understand deeply and that evolves year to year, continuity becomes a competitive advantage. The league is built on constant change, but teams that balance innovation with identity tend to stay relevant. How this offense develops its personality, how it responds to challenges, and how it adapts as the roster changes will ultimately tell the real story of this decision. As the season moves forward, FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. What started as whispers inside league circles is quickly turning into the loudest rumor of the season. An absolute bomb is said to be brewing between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Indianapolis Colts, and if even part of it becomes real, the NFL landscape could be about to shift dramatically. Sources close to multiple front offices suggest that talks have intensified around a blockbuster trade scenario that would reflect the aggressive fingerprints of Eagles general manager Howie Roseman. Once again, Philadelphia is widely viewed as a franchise that never stands still, and Roseman's reputation for striking when others hesitate has executives around the league on edge. The speculation points to a bold exchange of high-value assets, potentially involving a cornerstone player from one side and future-building capital from the other. The Colts, meanwhile, are believed to be exploring ways to accelerate their competitive window, and a deal with the Eagles could represent a calculated gamble rather than a rebuild retreat. What makes the rumor so explosive is not just the names being floated internally, but the timing. Both organizations are at strategic crossroads, and this kind of move would signal ambition over patience. Insiders claim the conversations are less about filling a single roster hole and more about redefining identity for Philadelphia, maintaining dominance through controlled risk for Indianapolis, injecting immediate impact into a roster hungry for relevance round the league. Rival executives are said to be monitoring the situation closely, bracing for a ripple effect. One major trade often forces others to react, and a Roseman-led strike could trigger a chain of unexpected moves across conferences. Nothing has been confirmed, and silence from both franchises only fuels the intrigue. For now, it remains speculation, but in the NFL, today's rumor has a habit of becoming tomorrow's reality. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.